What's going on? All thanks for tuning in once again. Just a quick recap. Let's shine the light on one of the best boxers of all time. Inoue, another great performance from him, beating MJ, top opponent, defending his titles in a great fashion. He was able to outbox this guy, take his punches, land on him as he wanted to. Fight on the back foot, there were times where he was on the ropes and he was able to maneuver around them. Just all-rounded, Inoue is a great talent. He's a rare talent in boxing. He's got to be in everyone's top 3 pound for pound. The guy's 32, I believe, undefeated, and it doesn't look like he can lose, does it? I know that Donnie did give him a good fight, but, in terms of anyone in that division, or anyone that he's fought, fighting now, he just looks unbeatable. Just cleaning out the top guys like MJ. He was a former champ, and Inoue just showed him why he's in everyone's pound for pound list. He's definitely one of the greatest. We look at guys like Crawford that just had a fight, and Usyk, who's went up in weight, and 3-time undisputed champions. This guy's, in a way, he's a 4-division champion. On par with greats like Manny Pacquiao. He just shows that the power is there. He can basically carry it up in weight and show it how he wants to. All fighters are going to respect him. MJ was taunting a lot in this fight, but I know that he did feel that power later in the fight. You could see. Inoue wasn't really going for the knockout. He was wanting to outbox MJ. That was his strategy in this fight, and he can. He shows that he can fight on the front foot and back foot. Great ring coverage. He's got a lethal jab. He's got short range power. He's a very talented fighter in a way. So I'm looking forward to his next move. I think that he should move up again in weight. I just don't see anyone beating him at 122. Super bantamweight. The way that he just beats these guys, makes it look easy. He's on a completely different level to these guys, completely different. He's on the elite level. He's one of those fighters that you have to have him on top 3 pound for pound. You have to. In a way, there's nothing much left to say. MJ's a top opponent. He did taunt Inoue, but Inoue was just too fast. Was able to, counter him and outland him and box on the back foot and, hurt him at times, where he respected his power with combinations. He's not afraid to show his expressions in the ring. He's basically taunting back at MJ, saying, well, feel this one, feel these combinations. What did you think of that? His face says it all, doesn't it? He's in there basically just playing the game. Great fighter. Like I said, I don't see him losing at 122. But, I think it's time to shine the light on this guy. He's definitely one to watch. If you haven't seen him, I suggest watching his fights. Watch the Fulton fight. That's a great fight where he lands a left hook, I believe, that, the coverage of the hook is so far that he's able to, hurt him in such a way and covers such a lot of ground. The way that he fights is just on another level completely. And this guy, he's not a southpaw, he's an orthodox fighter. We see guys like Usyk and Crawford, the southpaw. Usually they have the advantage, against orthodox fighters. In this case, in a way, he seems to have the advantage against southpaws. It's the other way around. Guys just can't keep up with him, with the power, with the speed, with the ability, to box on the back foot and the front foot. Short range power is great, great jab. So, I mean, I don't really know what's next for this guy. You know, he's a 4 division champion. He's beating these top guys, making it look easy. You know, knocks out Fulton, beats MJ, you know, every round. And I just don't see what else he needs to prove at super bantamweight. You know, if I'm in a way, I'm moving up in weight and going for a 5 division champion. You know, similar to a Pacquiao. You know, just an all-time great that can just move up in weight and be dominant in that division. You know, in a way, he's 32 now. You know, he's going to be around for a long time, in my opinion. Crawford, Usyk won't be around for too long. You know, most of these guys are all fading out. I know that they're saying that 38 is young, but, you know, I still think that eventually, you know, Father Time is undefeated. You know, he will catch up to these guys, and Father Time will catch up, I should say, you know, instead of him. You know, and these guys will hang up their gloves eventually. You know, Inoue has still got a long way to go. So I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing his next fight. Hell of a performance from him. You know, he answered all the questions from MJ and, you know, Hearn and things like that. All the media saying that he was ducking MJ. You know, I mean, how do you duck someone when you're moving up in weight and challenging the champion? That's what I don't understand. You know, he went up in weight and beat Fulton, got the belts, and now he's defending the belts against another top opponent that's, you know, was a former champion. So, I mean, there's nothing left to say about Inoue, besides that he's a great all-time boxer, puncher, fighter. You know, he's got the whole package. If he wants to box, he can, which he proved. If he wants to, you know, stand toe-to-toe and fight, he can. If he wants to knock you out, he can, you know. So, all-rounded, great talent. Nothing much else to say, you know, just that, you know, give this guy your full attention. You know, in his next fight, he's definitely one to watch. And, you know, pound for pound, definitely top 3 for sure. So, yeah, that's my take anyway. Another great performance from the champ, you know, 4-division champion. And again, proves again that he has it all. Leave your take in the comments, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.